Okay, good afternoon, good morning everybody, and welcome to this NAV Skills webinar. Today we're going to do what's new in NAV 2018, a community perspective, and I'm very happy to introduce Peik to you as your speaker for today. As always, the housekeeping rules. The webinars are recorded. You can find them on YouTube. This is the link to the YouTube channel. New webinars can be found on our website, or if you subscribe to our newsletter, you will be informed automatically. If you have any questions, please use the GoToWebinar questions window. I will be monitoring the questions window. If I think the question is urgent, I will pause Peik and ask the question, but otherwise I'm going to keep the questions to the end. We do have a lot of content, so let's see how we go into this session. And of course, thanks Liberty Growth Software for allowing us to use their GoToWebinar account, and Rick Williams, as always, to be in the background. Next week we have a webinar about Docker. Jakob, Tobias, and Freddie are going to do that. Joe Mathis will be your moderator. I will actually be doing Christmas shopping on that day, so I'll have to watch the recording myself on YouTube as well. And in January, we have 3 webinars listed right now. One of them is tentative. Luc is going to continue on his journey with the testability framework. I'm going to do a repeat of my NAV session, how to prepare your architecture for NAV 2018. And Dave Studebaker is most probably going to kick off the introduction to C-side programming session. So with that, no further delay, I'm going to give the word to Peik. You should have control. Peik, the floor is yours.
I have control. Hello and welcome to this webinar about my Dynamics NAV 2018. My name is Peik Andersen, and you might ask what a Peik Andersen is. I started working with Dynamics NAV in 1984 with the beta test of the first version of NAV, which was not called NAV, it was called PC+. Since then I've been involved in different projects and do a bit of blogging and some writing, so that's how it is. Right, let's jump right into it. As some of you might have seen, Microsoft released a roadmap not too long ago, showing the what is going to happen to Microsoft NAV or Microsoft Dynamics 365 Tenerife, or whatever the name is going to be. They are releasing or have released the first version of 2018, and that's the one that we're going to look at. In the spring 2018, they're going to release the 2018 R2. And I haven't seen anything of the 2018 R2 yet, so that will have to come later on. Now, the message that Microsoft came out with both at the directions and at the NAV Tech Days is that NAV is going to continue, and it's going to continue with full functionality both on-premise and in the cloud. It's also going to function as a platform for ISV vendors, so they can launch application in their own name. Right. What is it now Microsoft they are trying to do? Well, we can see that Microsoft have introduced the cloud solutions that are Office 365 and Dynamics 365. We have apps, which is made in PowerSuite. And we have the platform as a service in Azure and infrastructure as a server also in the Azure. But what is it that we get? Well, if we look at the data that we have in Dynamics 365, well, that is part of the ERP solution that we have had for years and years. But we have data that are maintained multiple places at the moment. And why don't we just connect the two of them so that we both have Dynamics 365 and Office 365 connected, so that we don't have to maintain people or contact persons or documents or orders or whatever in multiple places, but have everything connected into one. Also, we might join LinkedIn and then use the LinkedIn for our relationships and see how many of our products have been mentioned in the social media and how many of our customers and vendors have been mentioned or something like that. So also we can add partner solutions, and that way we can make sure that the data is only entered once and it's only stored once, and everything is integrated through the common data service, as you can see at the bottom. Now, all of this you probably have heard before, and therefore I'm just going to skid along with it. Dynamics 365 Tenerife is going to continue. As I said, it's going to be a business management suite. And it will carry the full capabilities of Dynamics NAV as we know it today. Now, on top of that, there will be a number of apps that can be installed. And some of these apps are purely cloud-based, or all of them are purely cloud-based. And they will add function that we previously, for example, have seen in the CRM module or other places. Now, the really good part is that we can make these apps ourselves and launch them alongside with Dynamics 365. But let's get further on with it. So Microsoft claimed last year that we are wasting 40% of our time because we're jumping from one application to another in order to seek information. And I don't know if that's right, but that's a claim, and there's something true about it. So what Microsoft is trying to do now is to change what we saw as a client before. They're going to try to change into a portal instead. They already tried that with the Rolltailor client, and the story behind the Rolltailor client is that everything that you should need in order to do your job or to plan your work should be available on your portal or on your Rolltailor client. And as you can see, this is just an example of how they could see the future Rolltailor client, where we used to have the Outlook layout, then they are modifying it totally now. Also, having both Office 365 and Dynamics 365 together, we've also seen examples that how they integrate the two of them. So in this case, it's a mail that has been received, and clicking on a Dynamics NAV or Tenerife or 365 button, the mail will be analyzed, and it will find out that this customer it belongs to us because we know his email address, and we can see that there are items mentioned in the mail, and therefore maybe we want to make an offer from this. Now, all of this is okay, but we need to get there somehow. And if we just go to the hardcore part of it, well, what is actually new in 2018? And at the first glance, we looked at it and we thought, there's not a lot here. But when we dug into it, we found out there are lots of interesting stuff in here, and some of that is I'm going to demonstrate, and some of that will not be possible to demonstrate right now, and that can be for various reasons. I'll get back to those. So let's start with the first one, designing pages from the web client. And in the web client, you have a designing functionality up here. And now I will switch to my web client and see if I can find that. And in here, I have my web client now. And if I go to customers in here and look at this Sportmeyer Furnishing, maybe I want a name 2 added in here. Now, what I have installed here is a totally standard 2018 W1 version locally on my machine. So what I do now, I click this, I click More, I click Add Fields, and now I get my name 2, and I can just drag this in here. and it will wait for a while, and then maybe I even want the, okay, I do have the address, but if I wanted anything else, then I could just select here and pull it in. I can see which have been already placed and which has not been placed. So this, for example, search name is ready. I don't want that. Right, when I'm done, then I can just stop designing, and then I need to give it an extension name. I'll just call it something very, very interesting, my name. I could download the code if I want to investigate the code in Visual Studio Code, but I don't want to do that, so I'll just do like this. Now, let me just go back here. Now I got my name 2 on my web client. Now, question is, how does that actually look in the Windows client? So I'll go back to my Windows client, and I'll go to my customers, and let's see if something has happened in here. And whoops, I got my name 2. Now, this works because I have entered my my extensions in here, and we can see that there's an extension named Peik, and that means that I can actually uninstall it again, like that, and now I can just unpublish it, and now it's gone, and that means that now absolutely no trace of this extension anymore. So that means if I go back to my customer now, then hopefully the name 2 has disappeared. Oh, fantastic, it worked. And the same thing if I go back to my web client and then go back in again, then whoopsie, there they go. Now I can see that this functionality might not be totally finished because I've tried to get the action and part on the page and stuff like that to work, but it doesn't work. So therefore, we'll just leave it at that for now. We can add fields at pages, and that is a major improvement. We can see here on the list, we can also add fields on the list, and that's fine. Okay, then of course this should look like that. But never mind, it did work. So minimizing this, going back to my presentation. We now know that we can design pages from the web client. The second thing that they have done is that they have enabled us to preview from the web client. Previously, when we wanted to preview, we would get in a PDF, and that would show our preview more or less. Now, I'm going to show you that there is a button called Preview. I'm not going to show you how it looks because it doesn't work, not in the version I have. It just leaves the screen blank, and then if I try a couple of times, the web client dies. So I'm not going to show you that. Just to show you that there is a preview button, and it should work. Good. Now, another thing that has come is assisted setup. And assisted setup was already introduced in 2017, and now they have created a menu for us. And if I just go back to my Windows client here, and then I can type assisted. We can see that we have assisted setup for a lot of different stuff. It's how to migrate business data out of setup, email, and so on, so on, so on. All of these are wizards that will make it easier to enter the setup data into the system. And make it in a way that is more user-friendly. There was some talk about them making an assisted setup for creating OData solutions or OData connections. I haven't seen that yet, but that would be a major improvement as well. Next, we have something called user tasks. And user tasks is something where you can create a task, and either for yourself or for somebody else, and then you can move it around. And as you can see, here we have the subject, and we have a task description. You can assign it to somebody, and you can set the percentage of completion. Now, let's just see how that looks in our on our role center. This is the business manager role center I have here, and down here I have something called pending user task. Now, you might ask yourself, why should we use this and not use some Outlook or something like that? But then there is a new functionality where it's called the Accountant Hub, where we can allow external accountants to enter our system. And now this could be a way to add a task to people that enter the system that way. So they will pop up on the role center like this, and then you can see just like our notifications and anything else. Another thing that has been introduced is employee ledger entries. And employee ledger entries is a way to post transactions directly to an employee. Now that sounds suspiciously much like a salary. So if I go to back to my business manager in here, and then I can just find my general journal. And in here you can see how we have a posting date, we have an employee accounting type, and in here we can set up like for Mr. John Roberts instead, and I could type salary, something like that, December, like that, and now we can just enter an amount. And when I post this, then it will post on the, and let me just go back and say employee, and then take somebody, not her, we'll take John again, and then we'll go Control F7. We can see that salary December has been posted on this, and we can see here that if I go to navigate, that our GL entry has been posted on our, in this case, it paid by cash. Sounds suspicious. And then it has been posted on an account called employee payable. Now, Mark has some additional comments to this. Isn't that so, Mark?
Yeah, the only thing that I mentioned when we prepared for the webinar was that I actually mentioned this at one of my customers, that this was a new feature in NAV 2018. And they said, oh, wow, that's great, because then we should actually upgrade to 2018. For them, this was reason enough to upgrade their system, because it you no longer have to create vendors for all your employees. And also Microsoft implemented this in the Dutch telebanking features. So you can actually, if you pay your salaries, you can actually apply that to the payments in the system. So I think this is something that we waited for a long, long time. It's a big change to the system, and the customer, the way the customers receive it is really positive.
Okay, good. Back to me. So let's go on. We have something called Image Analyzer here. In 2017, we were introduced with Cortana. And Cortana is artificial intelligence where we can set up data. And in this case, it has been implemented directly into NAV. And the image analyzer is an extension that is provided by the computer vision API for Microsoft Cognitive Services. And what you can do with that is that you can enter a picture, and it will try to find out what it can find out about this. And I'm going to make a big risk here, because I'm going to take my my contacts up here. Like that, and the contacts, I will find somebody like that, and I'm going to import my own picture. Oh my God. I'll put this in and see what happens in here. And now it says here, good work, you can review the results in the profile questionnaires. So if I roll down here, so not here, sorry. If I scroll down here, it says that, and let me just go further down, it says that I am a male. I can confirm that. I'm very, very pleased to see that I'm only 40. They only missed by about 15 years, but I'll take everything I can get. So so thank you for that, Cortana. So this can be used on, for example, items. It can be used on contacts. And so whenever you import anything into, let's just go back to our role center and go to items, and then go to a bicycle. And let's see what happens if we import a bicycle in here. Now this is a very primitive bicycle that I'm importing. And now it says here that we can create a category called bicycle, or we could change this and use as an attribute, or ignore this, or whatever we want. I want to get this as a bicycle, so now I got my picture, and now I got a new category code based on that picture. That's cute. Good. Let's continue. How do you then implement this? I thought this would be really, really complicated, but what you actually need is you need an Azure account, and you need a active Azure subscription so that you can pay for every time you analyze something. In here I have just shown the link where to find a step-by-step to how to import this. Secondly, we have the Power BI fact box. Previously, we had on all role centers in 2017, we had the role centers where we could add a Power BI report on the front, and it says down here. It's a little hard to see, but I can just enhance it a little bit here. And this getting started with Power BI. Now, in order to do this, we also need an active Azure account. And Azure, let me just kill that, and let me just kill this as well, like that. And an active Azure account, and then we need to have Dynamics 365 or NAV on Azure. I only have a 2017 version on Azure, and I can show you out here how it is. So in here I have a 2017 Danish version, so you will have to bear with the language. When I click select report, I can go in here and I can see all the Power BI reports I have added to my powerbi.com account. And when I click OK here it will hopefully it will show me the Power BI report that I created in this. Let me just take it away again, because this is actually not my machine. It's one I borrowed. So now I just remove that again, just to show you that on all the pages, for example, customers, we have over here, we have getting started with Power BI, just like we had on the role center. In here, we also have getting started with Power BI. So they have made a fact box for us where we can add Power BI reports to individual pages in the wholesaler client. No, in the Windows client. Now, if we go up to actions here, we can show hide Power BI reports, and then it will be removed from our screen if we don't have any and we don't want to look at it. So time is running. I'm running too. So there was a demo here. Again, how do we enable Power BI? I would love to say it was easy, but there will be a step-by-step guide here, and just follow that, and you should be home free. Good. Now, next, we're going to skip through a number of different changes, and I'm not going to demonstrate all of them. One of the things they have done is they have upgraded the integration with the Dynamics 365 for Sales, the previous CRM. I'm not allowed to call it that. I do it anyway. Previously it was a little more complicated. Now it's only one page where you fill it out, and then you have the integration. Another thing they have done is with the 2016, I believe, they introduced the Lexmark OCR integration, where you can scan a printed invoice and send it to Lexmark in order to have it OCR recognized, and then Lexmark will send back the actual rendered information to you. What they have done in 2018 is that they have enabled us to synchronize our vendors with Lexmark ICS in order to get better OCR results, because you never know how these invoices they look. So that means that from now on the Lexmark solution will look first in the list of suppliers before it will suggest to create a new one. Then we have pre-configured Excel reports. And pre-configured Excel reports means that in the Business Manager and the Account and Role Center, they have made a new option. And I can show it, but it doesn't work in my version. So I'll just have to show it like this. And I suspect the reason why it doesn't work is because it's trying to take today's date and show the data from today and not from the working date. So if I click the balance sheet here, now I can see that it has the day of today. I also have a lot of other stuff over here, but never mind. This should have been the work date instead. So, but this is how it looks, and it works both from the Windows client, but it also works from the web client, as you see here. And this way, it will just download the Excel sheet, and you can open it from there. Good. Another thing that came in 2017, and it is the edit in Excel. That means that if we download the app that's called Microsoft Dynamics Office Add-in, it means that we will actually get a possibility to, and I think I have it in here, in 15 different worksheet pages, the button that is called Show in Excel will be changed into Edit in Excel as soon as we import this or integrate this. Now, this also demands that I have a number of prerequisites here, that we have an active Azure directory account. We have a Dynamics NAV server instance that is configured for a NAV user password. Or any of the other. We have OData that is with a secure socket layer, and that we have the web server component installed and configured to SSL. And of course, you need to have a supported version of Excel. That goes without saying. Also, because this was not exactly easy, then I have included a link to where you can find more information of how to set it up. In 2017, Microsoft introduced 2 new buttons on the posted invoices, posted sales invoices. One was cancel and one was correction, I think it was called, I don't remember. Now, what they have done is that they have included also invoices that were job related, because before that was not possible. So now they have also discontinued the cancel and correct. Now they only have one button called cancel and create a corrective credit memos. Now this does not mean that it won't change anything. It just means that it will create a new credit memo and if needed, post it. Another thing that's possible now is to create purchase documents and directly from the sales documents. And in this case, we can create either a purchase order or purchase invoice from the sales order. And we can just try it. it's fairly simple. We go to the sales order. And if I go to any sales order and I create a new item in here, let's just take the usual bicycle, 10 pieces, and we don't have any on stock. That was a shame. So what we can do then is we can go up here and then create a purchase order directly from this. And what it will do now is it will create all the information in here. We can see here, and then I can just say OK. And then, oh, sorry, I just need to put a vendor in here. We didn't have a vendor, too bad. Now we do. London Postmaster, he will do anything. So now I have a purchase order for this. What I would have liked also was that the order tracking was activated for this, but they haven't done that. So that might be coming in the next hotfix or something like that. For those of you who are a little bit annoyed with this message here, you should know that it's possible to remove that, my notification, like that. And in my notifications, you can see in 2018 there are a lot more in notifications that we can actually remove. So, and the one that we are looking for is something called unposted document notify. No, that's not it. Somewhere it says here notify about unposted documents. I can't find it right now. So good. Moving on. Next, we have a cool little change. Not the biggest change, but then again, it's something that everybody finds annoying. In the setup, in the general posting setup card, we have a new button called Suggest Accounts. We also have one other thing, that is, if we, for example, have a sales invoice, and we say we don't work with sales invoices, so we have disabled that in our setup, then all the accounts that has to do with the sales invoice discount, they will disappear. Now, this next thing is the suggest accounts, and if I go back to my general posting setup in here, there's a used thing in here. Let me just filter to this and go all the way to the right. Now you can see here that there's used in ledger entries. So what it'll actually do is, that is, at least that's what I have found out that it has done, it will suggest the one that has been used the most already. So it will take this one because it's 545 times it's been used, and then if I create a new one, it will suggest that one. And then it will take all the accounts from that and put it on. Another small thing, we can post selected, which means that we can now select different invoices and then post them. What is the difference between post batch? Well, post batch will post everything within the filter. In this case, we can just select whatever we want to post and then post selected. And let me just see, because I think we had a little problem finding it actually when we were looking at it the last time. Post batch, we have post and send, post selected. So despite it saying post selected, if you have more than one invoice, then it will suggest us posting both. And let me just show that by doing this, like this. And then we have in our usual item, like that. 10 pieces, it's very good. We don't care. And now when I post both of these, now it says 2 out of 2 selected. Do you want to post them? No, I don't. So that means it doesn't say post selected. It just say it's just a post action that has been created or changed. Good. Next, they have changed the way the global dimensions are being implemented when they're changed. I don't know if I want to use this, or if I want to do whatever I did in the past, which was to wait until there was nobody else on the system and then change the global dimension. Because what it'll do is that everybody else can actually work and read all data in the tables that are not involved in the update. But any changes will be blocked until they are completely updated. So you can say, well, you can read data in the system, but you cannot do anything. So yeah. Another small improvement, which is amazing, it took so long for them to implement, is a default for Intrastat reporting that if you need to report Intrastat on receipts and shipments, then you can set up what is the default transactions for them, and they will be applied to the documents. Another small thing, at least it's small for me because I haven't seen this problem, but now you can submit the EC sales list report with more than 9,999 lines. So for some people it might be a big problem, but this is just so that you know that this has been fixed. Another thing that you can do now is that if you haven't got an item, and then you can directly on your sales order. And I am not quite sure why they say this is a new feature in 2018, because I think this was actually also possible in 2017. But never mind, I'll show it anyway. So if I go here and I will just make a, let's say I want to have a freight. Okay, I cannot spell freight. Now I can spell freight. Then it will say, do I want to create a new card for freight, or do I want to select an existing one? And then I can, of course, select a template and make an item that is a service, and then add that directly on the fly. If you use the bookings app from Office 365, which means that if you have a small, let's just say a hairdresser or something like that, a plumber, where you have bookings with different customers, then now you can integrate those bookings directly into NAV and have them invoiced directly. Like that. Then we have a few local enhancements in the North American electronics funds, fund transfers. They can now pay vendors using electronic payments. Yeah. Another thing is that if you want to migrate from QuickBooks, you can now import payroll transaction files in the QuickBooks format by installing the QuickBooks payroll file import extension. Then for the UK guys, there's also news. You can have your address validated from the UK postcodes. For those who haven't been traveling in UK, postcodes in UK are usually one or maybe a couple of houses. So if you want to take a taxi in UK, then you can just give the postcode, and then you will get somewhere close to where you're actually going. So now there's an API, so you can get the address directly from the postcode extension. As you can see, you can use the free plan, which will add 20 addresses per day, and it's valid for 30 days. So you can do the math yourself. Another thing is that you can retrieve the customer, vendor, and the contact name address from a VAT registration number. This is also in UK only. You can validate the VAT registration number for a new customer and vendor against the EC VAT Vs. That is actually a old change. So if you have a customer in here, where let me just create a new one, and let me use, let's just take anything, that's fine. And then we will just change this. This is me. So, and I will just go down to my country region, and then for those of you who don't know this, it's important to know. Let me just see if I have a VAT registration number. And then when you do this, click up here, then you can validate the registration. Is that's not installed in this version, so that was no good. So if I'd done that, it would go to the V's. And I think, where can I find this? It's usually installed in the Cronus, but looks like it's not installed here. So then it will get the name and address of the actual holder of the VAT registration number. Another thing is that they have simplified the workflow user experience, and that was also necessary, because every time I need to demonstrate this, I'm running around trying to find these approval entries and approval requests. So so that was good. They have also added the all online help. They have added on the internet. Now you might have seen that the online help, the field-related online help in NAV is no longer available. But just so that you know, it can be installed anyway. So there is, if you search the internet, then you can find where you can install the help. So. Almost on time.
Cool. I think the timing is almost perfect. So let's see if we have any questions. We're going to give people some time to type in their questions. We currently don't have any questions yet. We do have one comment. Let's actually start with that one, and we'll give people some time to type in questions. From my understanding from Directions and Tech Days, the user task link is only to the object and not to a record ID. And that's actually considered not to be a good design. Okay. Oh, Chris Studebaker is asking, he heard about the possibility of getting a view of blocked sessions. I know that was a new feature in 2017, but Peik, maybe you can show Chris where you can find that.
I can do that. It came in 2017, and it's actually a part of, let me just see if I can actually find it. I need to find a development environment. I don't know if it's there. I haven't checked in here. Database logs.
Yep, that's where it is.
Yeah. So this will show the logs of the database. So it came back. It was nice.
That was really nice. Yeah, exactly. I agree. We have another. We have a question about, can you also tell us about AX financials? I think the answer to that is no.
The answer to that is no. The speed of development of NAV is so fast today that you can concentrate on only one product today, as I see it. You cannot be a specialist in both.
Yeah,
that's difficult anyway.
So how can partners access Tenerife in the cloud?
Well, that is a good question because in the UK and the US, and there was one more, I don't remember which one, they are already available in the Dynamics 365 financials, but there was some rumors that that in the next couple of months there will be released how many 14 countries? Correct me if I'm wrong, Mark.
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, so I heard it somewhere. Don't kill me if I'm wrong.
Okay. Can you show the extensions view once again? Where could you see which extensions were installed?
I can do that. Let me do it two ways. If I go down here, I have this, and one called IT administration, and one called extension management. So this is the one way, or the other way is just to search for extensions. And in here you can install and uninstall, and you can, if it's your own, you can also unpublish it. But you cannot unpublish the standard ones. That is annoying.
Yeah. We have one question about one of your opening slides. It said financials and operations. I assume that you mean that that is actually NAV, and you mean business edition with that?
Yeah, that is because there's been a lot of confusion about the naming. So a lot of the slides that we got in the beginning was called, let me see, that was called enterprise and business, and what they should have been, what they was actually sold as was operations and financials. But what is going to happen is we don't have a name for NAV, but for now it's called Dynamics 365 Tenerife. I don't know what the AX is called. Do you know that, Mark?
Nope. No, I don't.
So we can call it anything.
Exactly. Just think about something and use that. What are the changes in the development environment in 2018?
Oh, there's not a lot of changes in the development environment, in the basic development environment. But there is a whole new development environment, which is a whole new story. But basically, as you could see before, and I can just show it, we have the standard one here that looks exactly as it did. And then we have another one over here called Visual Studio Code, which looks something like this. And this is a small project that I use here, and this is the way to make extensions in the 2018 version.
Yeah,
but you can still use you can still use the development environment to make it.
Yeah, in 2018 you can run hybrid. We do have a couple of recorded webinars on the YouTube channel that you can watch if you're curious about this. And in January I'm going to do the NAV webinar where I'm going to explain how to create a hybrid strategy that allows you to use the 2018 version to slowly move to extensions rather than as a hard-coded experience. So this is an interesting question. Any updates regarding CDS in 2018?
CDS?
The ACDS? Yeah, no.
Okay, no, I haven't heard that there's anything done to that, and it still runs with the old problems, codes that can only be 20 characters long, and when you shoot the barcodes, the new barcodes, they're longer than that. And stuff like that. So we still have all the problems.
I know that CDS is currently within Microsoft in prototype. Version 1 is actually not. It's something you can play with. Microsoft is currently working on CDS version 2, and CDS version 2 will be connected, as far as the latest understanding that I am having, with NAV 2018 R2. So it is on all the marketing slides, but in NAV 2018
probably through OData or what?
I don't know.
Okay, I don't know.
I wish I knew. I would guess OData. Yes.
Yeah.
How can we use the 44 APIs available in 2018? Peik, can you show how to enable those APIs?
No, actually not. Can you?
Yes, if you go to the NAV administration window, where you would also enable and disable OData and SOAP. There, if you go to the OData window.
Wrong one. Sorry.
Wrong one. No, it's okay.
Wrong
Take your time.
I have all the time in the world here. That's the 2018. That's better. So let's see. And then down to the OData.
Here you can enable the API services.
Yes.
And if you enable this, the generic API that Microsoft introduced in 2018 will start to work. And if you go to YouTube, and on YouTube you search for the Mibuso channel, you will find the NAV Tech Days recordings. And on the NAV Tech Days, there were at least 2 or 3 sessions covering the API, including the session that I did with Michael Nielsen on CDS. So that's where you can find more information, and maybe it's good if we can do a webinar on the APIs somewhere next year. Cool.
Cool.
Can you elaborate on the online help and field level help? How does it affect on-premise installs of online help?
I can show you here. If I go to the 2018 and go to a customer, so go in here and find a field and then press F1. Now it will say something meet Dynamics NAV. That's not exactly what I hoped for. That is what I got, but it's not what I hoped for. If I instead go to my 2017, where I have added this myself, and it's fairly easy to add. It's a file that you can download. I think it's on Mibuso, and if not, then you can just press F1, and then it will show the online help. So in order to, I don't exactly know what the motivation is for discontinuing the online help, but I know that that my customers and my users, they want this. So therefore, you can download a help file and install it directly in the IIS server, and then all of your users will have online help. The only problem is that the online help is based on a 2016, so it will only be fields that were available in 2016. I don't know if it will show up in 2017 or 18.
Yeah,
we'll
Daniel is actually hinting that Microsoft also introduced tooltips, which may actually even prevent people from actually having to go all the way to the online help.
Yeah,
but that's a good one, Daniel. Thank you.
Yeah, that is, but it's a little bit short, because that's what I would use normally as well. But I mean, if you go to somewhere like, let me just take a generic place here, like then just the description of the allow posting from, that would take a lot more than the 3 lines that they have written down here. You can read that on my blog.
I also know that Microsoft is moving to docs, and I don't exactly understand what that means. And they also are moving some of the online help to GitHub, so you can actually expand your own online help.
I did put the link to docs in here, and this is where we can find some information. But I mean, it is a lot easier just to press F1 in the field than it is to actually having to be open a browser.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's go and see if we have another question. Yeah, somebody is saying the add item is indeed available in 2017. Ted Ober is saying that. Thank you. Yeah, we were actually having a debate, Peik and I, what Microsoft would mean with that comment. So sometimes it's hard to figure out what exactly they mean.
Some of the stuff that they put up as new stuff is something that's been there before, but may not have been very well known. So therefore, Microsoft probably took it up again in order to highlight that it's been there.
So Dimitri is saying that maybe if we have some time, we can look at the new API. I don't think we have time for that today. We have 6 minutes left, and we have like a dozen questions. But we will do a webinar on the API. And Dimitri is asking, can you create your own API? And the answer to that is yes. Maybe a quick highlight: if you go to the page designer in 2018, Microsoft introduced a new page type, which is called API page. And that, if you create your own, it will be automatically exposed as a web service as part of the API. And again, I'm referring to the Mibuso NAV Tag Days YouTube channel, where Microsoft is actually explaining how all of that works.
Okay.
So next question, have you tried to configure Flow? And if yes, how do you feel? How could you migrate to that?
I haven't tried it, so it's very short. I'm just showing the API on the screen. I haven't tried it. That is next on my to-do list, but I'm running out of free time. That's what my wife says.
Yep, no, and I have a wife which is saying the same thing, and my wife is pregnant, so be careful with her. Okay, so Per Christensen is saying that in the webinar announcements we said we actually did some comparing with between NAV 2017 and 2018 versions. Did we see anything like refactoring or changes to what was your general impression of the code?
Well, you were deeper in that than I, but there are 600 changed objects, right?
And 600 new objects.
What, the 600 new objects? New object, okay.
Yeah.
And I've seen a couple of new properties that they have put in, but I cannot say anything with too much confidence here.
Maybe we should ask Stephen Renders to do what's new in Seaside again, like he did last year. Maybe that would be a good idea.
That would be a good idea.
Do you have a link to the instructions of setting up the Power BI feature? I think we're going to share the PowerPoint slides so they can click on that, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, we're going to share the PowerPoint slides as a link in the YouTube video. Oh, this is an interesting one. How do the user tasks compare to the to-dos that we already had in CRM, in relationship management? I actually think that there was a debate about that on Yammer while Microsoft was actually working on this.
Yes, I heard about something about. I don't give it too much credit, but I heard something about that those two would be maybe merged. Not the same, but that you can merge somehow. I don't know. But it's,
yeah. I actually when I did the merge of one of my customers to 2018, I actually found that they renamed the variable to do in the contact table to task. And knowing what I know now, which I didn't know like 2 days ago, I'm guessing that Microsoft is indeed working on merging to-dos and tasks, which I think was actually a suggestion done by James Crowther. So that would be a cool thing to do. So we have 2 minutes left before we wrap up, and we have a handful of questions left. Let's actually see if we can cherry pick an interesting question. Are there upgrade tools available to go from NAV 2009 to 2018? Oh, and I see the question is coming from Manu, which is one of our customers. Do you want to take that, Peik, or?
I haven't checked. So.
Yeah, I know that Manu is working on 2009 Classic, and Manu, you would have to take some steps, some intermediate steps. So if you go from NAV 2009 Classic to 2018, you would have to stop at 2013, where you would go to pages and you would convert some reports to RDLC, and from there, from 2013, I think you can move to 2018. And I really encourage everybody to go to 2018, because 2018 will be a hybrid version of NAV that allows you to go from C-side to extensions. Any manuals on VS Code development?
Only the one that I made and put on my website. So just go to my website. It's on the screen right now, and there's a manual on Visual Studio Code.
Yep. And again, there's a bunch of videos. The problem with VS Code is that both the VS Code editor and what Microsoft supports is a moving target. So whatever you write up today may be old tomorrow. Which
but what I have done is that I have included in the manual, I have included a link to a website where I put the upgraded version, and I've upgraded 3 times just this December. So
cool. Okay, so let's wrap up with the last question from Hassan. Will the classic development environment disappear at some point in the future? And I think we can fairly easily say yes to that.
But it will not be in 2018, and will probably not be in 2019, because they maybe in 19, I don't know. But also all this versioning, I think that Microsoft is going to make NAV 2018 R2 be the last version, and then from there it will only be upgrades.
Yeah, but we can only guess that, right?
We can only guess that right now, but that's what they hinted in the last time I talked to them.
Yeah, and the last thing I saw on the GitHub, where you can actually communicate with Microsoft about this, but the last thing I saw on the GitHub was that if Microsoft moves entirely to VS Code, you can still edit their source code if you really see a reason to do that. So they will not completely close the
development environment.
Okay, cool. Peik, thanks so much for being with us and for showing all the cool stuff in 2018 and for being so honest about your opinion and answering questions. And I'm looking forward to see everybody again in one of the next webinars. And if I don't talk to you again, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Right. Same to you. Thank you. Thank you for today.
Bye.
Bye.